think for a mid laner, knowing your limits on a champion is very important, and that's what divides good mid laners from the best ones.
You can play more different champions in mid lane, and you can play a lot of different styles.
생국수 선수는 제가 볼 때 딱히 장점이 없고 뭐 단점도 딱히 없는 그런 무난한 선수 같아요.
There's generally players that plays aggressive but smart, and then there's the players that just plays aggressive.
Right now, the only guy that I think is same level or better even than me is Perks.
I believe that Betsy is a really strong mid lane at the moment, probably one of the strongest. He's really good at pressuring the enemy, and he knows how to trade properly, which is really important.
Fabian plays pretty much everything. It's very hard to outban him or outpick his champion.
I don't think I'm much different than the other mid laners, like people who have a wide champion pool.
유럽 미드들이 물론 저는 2부에서밖에 안 해봤고 이제 처음 1부로 온 거지만 유럽 미드들은 되게 잘하는 것 같아요.
I'm pretty proud because there are so many legends in the US.
Hola and welcome to the European LCS studios, coming to you live from Berlin, Germany. Things are heating up as our teams fight to stay in playoff contention and out of the relegation zone, as you get a look at our fans and the Giants walking past the trophy wall here in the European LCS, as well as Fnatic getting a little zen in before their matchup against Rockets, who are setting up on stage as we speak. There we see them, of course. Good evening. I'm Eva Schok, supporter, joined at the analyst desk by Mitch Greppel-Voorspels and Andy Various Day. 34 degrees Celsius outside and a lot of hot action on the Rift.
But we have air conditioning, so we don't care.
Exactly. Before we dive into tonight's matchups, we have a very exciting announcement about one of the biggest events of the 2016 season coming your way later this year. Let's take a look.
I don't know. He's got to find it. We will be closing out All Stars as your champions.
Dios mío.
Dios mío, super excited. Barcelona, city of Anthony Gaudí, Sagrada Familia, Parkwell. Super excited to bring League of Legends there.
See.
See, fantastic. Of course, there is still a ways to go until España, and with plenty of league to play before then. I'd say this is a different table from yesterday, but it kind of isn't in terms of where the teams are ranked. Exactly the same.
Yep, we had a day of ties yesterday. Every team taking one win and one loss, which means that everyone right now is still in exactly the same place that they were last week. However, it still does mean that today's games will have a big impact if anyone can get that 2-0.
A bunch of ties, and a lot of the players yesterday on the desk also saying, well, we don't actually pay that much attention to the standings as they are now. For us, a lot of it is practice running up to those playoffs. However, you should be able to give yourself a bit of security with a 2-0 here and there.
Yeah, obviously everybody wants to jump ahead of the pack with the three-pointer versus the tie. I think the only teams that are really going to start caring about standings are the ones at the bottom of it, like teams like Origin should not be in 9th place as we are approaching the end of week 4 of the European Summer Split.
Well, at least they managed to pull out a tie yesterday in their game versus Fnatic Origin. That is a record-breaking game, just a couple of stats, 8.28 seconds game time. That's an EU record. Then some CS records, a global CS record broken by Reckless, and then also by Febiven. 4,845 minions kills and 299,000 total gold. That's a lot of gold.
That's a lot of money.
It certainly is a lot of money, but based on the reactions from some of the players yesterday, perhaps not the greatest achievements that some players would necessarily want.
I mean, it's still the biggest, well, it's the largest CS number. It's still the largest CS number in a loss. Like, I'm sure these guys would have gladly not broken a record and then actually won the game. However, Fnatic too sloppy, many mistakes. Spoke to Feverman in the makeup room earlier too. He's like, yeah, I've made some mistakes. Started pointing them out. I was like, yep, I agree.
Yeah. Well, they can make up for them in just a bit because week 4 of the EULCS continues with Giants taking on Schalke in the arena on EULCS 1. And Roccat will battle it out with Fnatic in the studio on EULCS 2. And then later, Vitality will load into Drift against G2. And Unicorns of Love are going to face H2K.
I think the Giant Schalke one is actually going to be a big one in terms of standings because Schalke are trying to solidify themselves in something like that 4th place spot, trying to contest with the top 3 teams right now, whereas Giants, they're on the cusp of moving down to the bottom 4 and sitting in that top 6 playoffs.
Yeah, very close matchup. I have my eyes on Vitality versus G2 Esports because I think that's going to be a fantastic match casting-wise. Definitely looking forward to that one.
Why is that?
It's me and Sifa.
Ah.
Watch it.
All the rap references coming in. As always, after our final match of the day, we'll be jumping into the post-game lobby with a special guest, Senkux and Power of Evil, as mid-lane week continues. That's for the end of the day, but we still want you to hop on Twitter and send us in your questions for those guests at LL Esports with the hashtag AskAMidlaner. Anything from advice to compliments to anything
What
you
do
want
you
to
eat
know.
for breakfast?
What do you eat for breakfast?
I would like to know what Power of Evil eats for breakfast, so maybe somebody can tweet that in and get that on the show.
Yeah, let's do it. Now, let's dive into some more serious matters. The first matches of the evening, starting with Schalke versus Giants in the arena. Schalke had a matchup versus G2 yesterday, and they managed to beat them out in one, which is a very important win in the end for them, and Steve played a pivotal role in that victory.
Yeah, he certainly did. He went wild on that Olaf in game 2, and overall Schalke definitely doing a great job of punishing what was somewhat big mistakes coming out from G2, to be fair, and it was just a very impressive performance from Schalke.
Yeah, G2, they're continuing their low econ top style, which is fine, but it needs to be kind of supplemented with a lot of communication. And according to interviews, it's not there yet from Expect, and I think Schalke did a fantastic job capitalizing on that. They pivoted their compositions, their picks, their playstyle around Steve a lot, and he's kind of went and carried, because game 1 was closer and game 2 was convincingly won by Schalke, so they actually were almost a better team in that series despite it being a tie.
They're up against Giant. Smitty J was player of the game in one of the games of Giant yesterday. The first one wasn't really great, not the best draft for them. Verius, what draft do you like to see them go to pull out a victory?
So when we look at Giants' draft, it's very much about making sure that Knight is on something that he can make plays on, because in game 1 of the game against Vitality yesterday, they put him on a Karma in the mid lane. After speaking to them, they said, we don't usually play Karma ever in the mid lane, so we don't even know why we decided to pick that one up in game 1. And then when they fixed their issues in game 2, took Mighty Bear off of something that was putting a lot of pressure down in the early game and allowed Knight and Sonstar to have a decent laning phase. This is actually when Giants came together and had a solid game plan moving forward, which they could very cleanly execute.
We'll see how that match pans out between Schalke and Giants, but our first match in the studio will be Roccat going up against Fnatic. Roccat, as said, they have been struggling with their early game yesterday, a tie versus the Unicorns of Love, and in the post-game interview with Betsy, he also said, well, I take a lot of that on myself and Arax, the fact that those early games aren't going well, and even the late-game team fights aren't going well at this point. And then I asked the question, these two players have been playing together for so long, how come it is so up and down?
I mean, one of the potential explanations for all this could be that Roccat used to be honestly a pretty bad team with a strong core, which was then Roccat and Arax and Betsy together, trying to play from mid and just carrying. So they knew what was going into the games. Like, these guys are going to play together. They're going to try and carry. We're going to not pay any attention to top or bottom lane. But right now, actually, Arax has a slightly better top lane and a much better bot lane that he can play around. So he actually needs to start making decisions. And from what we've heard and kind of seen, Arax is a bit of a rigid player. He likes the way the game to go the way he wants it to. He has it planned out in his head. And when sudden changes happen, or when he needs to kind of go into a too large of a decision tree, he kind of melts down and gets caught overextending sometimes. And I think that's what's making them suffer right now. There's sadly too many options for him, and he's taking the wrong one too often.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it. They're up against Fnatic. Where do they end now? After, a top 2 team or a number 2 place team, but then they have that first 30-minute game versus OG, everything as planned, and then that slugfest, breaking all records, but not leaving us with the best feeling about them after that performance.
I think Fnatic are fully aware of what went wrong in their game against Origin, and moving into today, we heard a lot from Featherman about how he took a lot of the responsibility on himself, and I think that he's a lot more motivated today and a lot more driven, and I think Roccat having to deal with this very powerhouse Fnatic that are coming into day 2 thinking we have to have a better performance, I'm a little bit worried for Roccat.
I think the game goes easier for Fnatic if they draft something with more crowd control too, though. Sometimes these low engaged comps are very complex, and Fnatic, given that their style is erring on the safe side of things, it makes it very hard for them to play if they get slightly behind. And they're really good at stalling on games, and they play kind of efficient League of Legends, but I think they're better off with some crowd control. Small example is talking to Reckless again before today's matches. He was like, yeah, I wish I built Iceborne instead of Triforce. And I was like, yeah, I agree, because I was whining about that for like 20 minutes during the cast. So they definitely need some more slows and some hard CC to make the game a lot easier for them.
How will it go bottom lane and top lane? As we said, obviously in the top lane, Gamsu, who we're not 100% convinced about, who isn't a bad player, up versus Rakat Perang, who has been starved out. Might that be a window?
Yeah, I think Gamsu can definitely beat Perang up, and I think individual matchups, Fnatic just have the edge overall, and they have the better macro. I don't see this becoming anything else than a 2-0 for Fnatic.
Okay, Fetty?
It's interesting that you bring that point up, because looking at Roccat yesterday, the gold distribution was unbelievable with how many resources they actually invested into Steelback and how much they starved out Perang. So if looking into this game, we're going to have to keep our eyes on if Steelback can put anything up against Rex.
Yeah, I do believe our casters are going to say a bit more about that as well. Our teams are setting up for picks and bans now, so it's time to say hello to our casters. Hi there.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Sharks.
Only Sharks, not
only
not
Sharks.
The
Rest of you, not for you. I'm Daniel Sifa Dracos. This is the Dashing Martin Official Longer, and we're getting ready to kick off our first set of games today here on the arena. Of course, Giants versus Schalke, no fear. And before we jump into this game, let's take a look at those lineups. On the blue side starting out today, it's going to be Giants. Of course, for them in the top lane, Smitty J. It was his birthday yesterday. Things may be a little bit harder today. Jungle Maxlor, mid lane Knight, 80 carry Sonstar, their support Hustlin, and of course, Coach Lozart.
Of course, is a mix of course and Coach, which is perfectly fine. I like that you're mixing it up. One thing we don't see from Giants very often is mixing up things, except for yesterday in the draft.
Which was the karma.
Which
we weren't really excited about overall. And I think
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with sticking to comfort picks, sticking to one style of composition that you are comfortable executing, and it has worked for Giants.
Yes, because when Giants do well, it's that holy triangle on the top side of the map with Smitty J, Maxlaw, and Knight together, who kind of carry Giants through the early to mid game into teamfights where Sunstar can then start becoming a bit of a carry. But that's Giants. They are playing against Schalke today on the other side with Steve up in the top lane, funny enough. We knew that was going to happen.
I never get tired of
Gilius
that.
in the jungle. Fox is the mid laner. Rallis the 80 carry. Spruttle support. And Nif behind the team. A coach who is honestly getting smarter and smarter when it comes to his drafts. I think Schalke this split has had some pretty good pick and ban phases. But I do think this team kind of lives or dies by Gilius.
And it's something that we have said a lot, but I think that you're completely right in that. And that first week we praised this guy a ton. He suffered. His performances have been a little bit inconsistent. And when Gilius does well, when he gets other members of his team ahead, the team does insane things. We saw yesterday, I think, a 10 CS lead generated for Steve on that Olaf after just a single gank from Gilius defined the pace of that game for them.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing about Gilius here as a player, because it's not only how Gilius needs to carry for him to do well, because I actually don't think he needs to go like crazy in the early game for Schalke to win. It's more, I don't want to see him have one of these really bad games. Like, he tends to go from either 10-0 or 0-10. I think if he plays less of a carry role sometimes, not as greedy in the way he plays, and kind of just follows the team around on the map, like always play to the strong side where he's needed instead of trying to invade and be the hero. I actually think Schalke becomes a lot more consistent. But then again, maybe from time to time they need him to go 10-0 because otherwise they would lose to, let's say, one of the absolute top teams in Europe. But I think Schalke needs to aim for the consistency, because I think they are actually a top 5 team right now. It's just sometimes you get these games where, especially Gilius, just falls down completely and then everything falls apart.
Well, it's interesting that you say it, because we've seen this guy, I mean, on Elise, just carry
Yes.
games, single-handedly carry games. But yesterday, in their first game when he played Lee Sin, went for these crazy flashy plays. All the setups looked amazing, but when we look how the team fight actually unfolded, it never really seemed like the right choice.
Yep.
Game 2, he pulls out the Rek'Sai, much less exciting, but does exactly what the team needs, and they're able to pull out a win.
And that's the style I want to see. But pick and ban here, Sifa. The first ban was one we talked about before we went on camera, because we didn't want to share it with you guys. It's only for me and Sifa. Elise ban versus Gilius.
No, I think we share it now.
Now
Of
we
course,
share it, that's true.
A lot of priority placed on Gilius in the pick ban phase, of course, taking usually these early game champs away, or the Nidalee away, or the Elise rather, Nidalee the other early game champ that he really likes. Olaf also being banned away from Steve. I think no surprises there after those performances yesterday. And Schalke, I feel like with some targeted bans of their own. Vladimir, of course, very standard, but the Azir, that's the Knight special at this point
It
in
is.
the season.
And I would like to see Trundle being banned as well from Schalke. I think like that's been Smitty J's best champion. I think Azir has been Knight's best champion. So I would really like to see those bans. Unless Schalke feel like they can kind of bait that Trundle first pick and then get 2 power picks like in Italy potentially in their first rotation, because it is open. With these bans, Giants does not want to risk a last pick Swain. A pick that worked really well for Schalke yesterday against G2.
Yeah, we saw Fox get ahead and just start shutting Perks down
completely
everywhere. I think didn't even die in that game. I believe 6-0-6 is scoreline overall. Absolutely one of those champions that when you give it a lead, it feels impossible to win a game against it.
Definitely the thing about Swain and why so many people like him and so many people hate him, because he's a snowball champion. Now, I was just about to say, if Schalke does not ban the Trundle, I'm almost guaranteeing, and now I'm putting myself out there, a Gnar pick from Steve against it, because they know Trundle will be first pick for Smitty J. It is far and away his best pick in the top lane. And we talk about that triangle for Giants, Smitty J, Maxlaw, and Knight, always doing well together for Giants when they do win. Often it's because they have champions like Trundle who can snowball out of control and just take over the game, like we saw yesterday for Smitty J.
And well, we saw it against OG last week as well. Smitty J, of course, overall, 5 games on this champion, 3-2 his record, but his last 3 games with Trundle have all been wins for him. We saw him consistently being that split pushing threat, looks incredibly comfortable on this champion. I think an excellent comfort pick to prioritize, but the downside is that you're now leaving over some comfort on the side of Schalke as well. And I mean, we'll see what they actually end up locking in, but
they should.
Definitely would be a smart choice here if they want to finalize this, and they will. Jhin as well as the Nidalee locked in, so comfort for Gilius, and it feels like a little bit of a denial pick away from Sunstar as well, who had a phenomenal Jhin performance yesterday.
Yeah, obviously Sunstar likes to play Jhin, but Rallis was kind of the first of the cool kids this split to really start bringing out a lot of Jhin. Obviously Reckless introduced the pick all the way back in Spring Split, but again, this is what Schalke have been doing. That's why they left the Trundle open to bait it as a first pick and then get the best available jungler for Gilius, where you can have a lot of early game impact. And of course, this Jhin pick. A lot of teams in Europe really value Jhin now as like an ST80 carry. A lot of them were like debate, is it Caitlyn, is it Jhin, as like the most focused AD carry. Right here, Caitlyn is open, she's available. And they still value the Jhin above it. If you are Schalke right now.
Really interesting. Maybe prioritizing the denial pick there, but there's also some pretty good makings of a poke composition already coming out from Schalke thus far. Of course, Nidalee Spears, as well as the potential for that long-range engage coming in for Jhin.
And we know they like to run these long-range compositions. When they've been playing Jhin before, they always paired up with a mid laner who's very long-range poke. So we've seen Azir with it, we've seen the Varus pick with it as well. She would actually work, technically, with fairly long-range damage from a Q to then set up a Jhin snare. And also a bit more CC with her own little knockback. I don't think they're going to lock it in specifically, but it is a pick we've seen over in the LPL as well from Rookie.
Yeah.
And he played it extremely well.
The best Dahlia we've seen thus far.
Oh, for sure.
Also, one
very
of the
few
only,
ones,
not the
but
only, yes. But
hey,
I want to jump in.
There's the Gnar.
As the Gnar does get locked in here, as we wait for Fox's pick, looking at the opposite side, looking at Giants' composition. First off, Freljord themed, can approve of that. Can't imagine that's what they're going for or what they're building around here, but getting the Ash.
Is that not how you make comps right now? Because I know the pro players love the lore a lot. You know,
they're like super into it. So Lissandra, Sejuani have to be the final 2 picks here for lore.
And it would fit. That's a mid laner, that's a jungler. They all both offer engage against this poke comp from Schalke with the Jhin with the Nidalee.
You're supposed to pull me back when I try to go into the lore. You're not supposed to follow me into the abyss that is lore references.
They're obviously not going to pick that, but it would technically fit as a team comp. Like, Cassandra is a good pick, so...
Yeah. But looking at this, they have, once again, kind of a more utility-focused AD carry for Sunstar, or at least some utility options for that long-range engage. But now with the Gnar locked in, as well as the Thresh coming in for Spraddle, it seems like Schalke, an interesting composition of their own, a lot of pick potential here, and how does the Gnar really fit into this equation?
Gnar is mainly picked because he's a fantastic counter to Trundle up top lane. We talked about Lissandra, by the way. They're so close. They stick to the blue theme, at least. And then, it kind of counts as well.
This is why we don't talk about
But
Bro.
yes. So, Gnar again is mainly just a strong counter pick to Trundle. Gives you a winning lane up in the 1v1, and also is a very strong team fighter. And obviously when you run these Jhin comps, very often it's like 1-4 compositions you build around it. Because you don't want to put Jhin in a side lane too often. And you want to pair him with a mid lane who has long range damage himself to make sure Jhin can then apply the W and you can kind of poke people away from towers. So He doesn't fit that well in 1-3-1 comps. He does really well in 1-4 comps, and that's where Gnar is your winning lane now on the top side versus the Trundle to stop the split push. Obviously, Giants is going for full-on split push with the Rise in one lane, Trundle in the other lane.
This is a really interesting adaptation coming in from them with the Rise pick, most likely for Knight in the mid lane, as well as the Hecarim jungle. We saw G2 pull this out yesterday, and it really did not work out for them. What is the theory behind Hecarim jungle? Why is this even a priority for Giants?
I mean, first of all, Hecarim jungle has been doing really well in scrims. When we had Febiven talking about it yesterday on the desk, saying like this pick has been, it was Perks saying it's done really well, and that's why people are like picking it more and more. But as a pick itself, it offers engage. It's a tank as well. Great clear speed once you get a few levels. He can be abused early, which is where he can struggle a little bit. But once he hits level 6, really, really strong overall tank. And if you are Giants, you see what we're seeing, and like, oh, is that a Jhin in Italy? So that's a potential of a siege composition. Well, we need engage. Hecarim is engaged. Ashe is engaged. Follow-up from a Braum. Like, Giants are basically just drafting around the fact they need to be able to engage on Schalke.
Absolutely. Follow-up from a Trundle as well with the Pillar if you ever do get a good engage. Rise with the chain CC. Braum as well with that ultimate. So effective when someone has already been locked up. Great for that chain CC. But the final pick now coming in from Schalke with these compositions is that Cassio for Fox in the mid lane. Opts for the cleanse, smart choice, but this is a really interesting pick.
Again, this is a pick that, together with Jhin, is extremely effective when you're sieging on towers. And that sounds weird, Cassiopeia sieging on towers. She's not like a poke champion per se. But her new W, because it covers that massive area, you just put it next to the tower, and basically you can't step close to last hit minions anymore. Like, you can't wave clear anymore properly. If you step into that poison, you get Jhin W'd straight away, and you just get poked and you're gone. Like, completely. So it actually works extremely well when you set up these zones around towers and objectives, and that's what Schalke are doing.
Absolutely. Well, while we gear up for our game, take a second, head on over to Twitter, tweet at LOL Esports, hashtag GIA win, or hashtag S04 win, depending on who you think is going to come out on top.
What do you think, Sifa?
I'm incredibly excited about a Hecarim and a Cassio in the same game. That's what I think right now.
Now, we have one problem here. Analysts were talking about having AC. I don't feel like we have the same here at the caster desk. I am at least getting a little bit sweaty here.
It's anticipation.
It is.
You know this is about to be an action-packed game. How can it not be?
I'm nervous, you know.
You gotta take a breath. You gotta watch Giants aggressively invade.
Sending in Hecarim first, who offers no CC, really scary stuff. You want to send your Braum in first. Just saying, I know in this case it didn't matter, but please let Braum go first so you can apply the Q and then flash onto targets right after with Exhaust, and you guarantee almost the first blood every time. But yeah, doesn't matter.
Gold did not appear to be first blood there, just trading vision here, maybe looking for the lane swap.
Sure, but again, have it just as a potential bonus, right? Or maybe they just want to show Hecarim off, like look at my horse or something, and he runs in and that's it.
It is a new pick. It's exciting.
It was new like a week ago, I'd say. It was played different regions around the world.
It's new to me.
It's new to you.
It's like the used car mentality, right?
It's fine. It's fine. I'll take it. I'll take it. But as we talked about, you know, Giants wanted to draft some hard engage, which is perfect for us. Because when compositions have hard engage, fights will always happen. Or they're going to completely fail the engage and we can laugh at that. So like we get one of the two.
You're a little cruel.
No, not towards Giants, just overall professional League of Legends. Like, we've seen a lot of
You're
Ashe
cruel
arrows
in all,
flying,
like not just to
right.
Giants, to everybody, right?
Yeah,
You're trying to let everyone know.
Just everyone else.
You're just mean sometimes. It's
Everyone
It's
else.
nothing personal. Of course, lane swap, not actually going to come out. We are just going to have the reverse lanes, Australia lanes coming in here. Sunstar and Hustling looking
Perfect for
matchup.
Schalke.
You say perfect, but that is a fat trade.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to comment on the way they're trading in lane, but when it comes to the setups, you want the Gnar 1v1 on the bottom lane against Trundle, the range matchup into the melee. Great for Gnar, can always just keep him away from you. And then top lane, you have this double range setup against the Braum. So definitely good for Schalke to get these standard lanes. Have to keep in mind, even though we have the bot lanes on top side, it doesn't actually change a whole lot for jungle pathing when it comes to ganking other lanes. Because mid lane, when you have a Cassiopeia, is always an option. Guys, he's just trading.
Guys.
So we need to change that, you know, we need the crowd instead to yell like caster names when they're saying something. It'd be super cool.
Someone will coordinate it. They'll yell Deficio for you. Oh!
There we go.
All right, that guy's my hero. That made my day. But we're focusing a little bit here on the bottom lane, on the top side. I think the junglers, though, really have to be the center of attention because Hecarim, we have seen it played internationally, is newer to us. And Nidalee, while it is a standard pick, is one that Gilius, once again, the live or die by Gilius mentality. What is he going to do with this in the early game? Can he get his team ahead? Because this is such an aggressive pick.
Well, he's going to do this, Sifa, because right now, with the standard lanes, Schalke actually have pressure in every single lane, meaning your Nidalee can start invading in, be a little bit annoying, land a spear, set up a few wards, put a trap down, track the enemy jungler, and as we talked about in Champs, like Hecarim in the very first few levels can be abused a bit, especially by Nidalee pick. So I want to see Gilius just continue playing very aggressive after his first back.
Oh.
A little bit of poking on top side, not a whole lot happening there, but you can see top lane here, pushing in towards the tower. Mid lane, the Cassiopeia is still very strong in the early stages of the game, pushed in the Rise. Bot lane, we know the Gnar is going to do more than fine against Trundle, so Schalke technically don't need to be afraid in any of the lanes.
I think it's a great place for them to be. We're going to have to see what they transition it into. So often this means a huge CS advantage for the jungler or maybe a bit of deeper vision. You can see a little bit of vision placed on the top side by both teams. Giants trying to keep that jungle safe. And the Schalke in a similar boat, just trying to make sure that this duo lane, Jhin kind of vulnerable, you know, no escapes, want to make sure that there's not going to be any surprise appearances there.
But you really want to hit level 6, you know, on Hecarim, get level 6 on Ashe as well, and then you can start really ganking this 2v2 lane like Thresh as well. He's great if you engage on the AD carry and he gets to step back and land on you, but if you just hit him, he's fairly squishy, he just dies, like instantly, he does nothing then. So there are definitely easy targets for Giants once they get the ultis when we look at the 2v2. But for now, that's not going to be a thing. Instead,
oh, you can see on your screen, Smitty J's parents are here to support. He's playing his best champs, Like, this is the time to come and watch. So I think they picked an appropriate day.
Maybe they made the pick and ban phase. They're like, first pick Tron.
Listen, we don't care what else happens. Put him on the best champ.
Same thing happened yesterday, and he carried.
Yeah.
He was actually really, really good, and I prepared this phrase for him in case he did really poorly. But he actually did really well, so I didn't get to use it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
But right now, in this matchup, he actually should be losing a lot, so maybe we can use it later.
True. And of course, 31 to 44, the CS differential. He's going to make up a lot of that under tower, but still at a pretty decent deficit early on. And Gilius is continuing to be kind of obnoxious here, putting in a little bit of deeper vision. Hasn't gone for any plays quite yet, though.
No, he's been playing it very safe, honestly. Just been kind of warding the jungle to find max low, but again, you're not that afraid of the Hecarim just yet. Also, like Thresh, when Hecarim comes pre-6 and he charges towards him, you can actually just flay him, and he won't manage to hit you and knock you back. Just as ways you can stop the ganks early on. But for now, again, not a whole lot is happening. Schalke winning slightly in like mid and bot lane in this case. And that's fine for them, because if you are Schalke, you're actually kind of waiting for Ghostblade to be completed on Jhin, and then you can start grouping together with the Cassiopeia, and you can start forcing plays at dragons, at towers. Look at that W, by the way, where every time it comes down. Massive zone you cover. You can almost cover the entire river here. So if you are setting up for dragon first, you put down the Cassiopeia W, it's very hard to run at her.
And of course, the grounded effect from that ability is going to make it difficult as they push forward in the game, especially if Fox is a huge damage threat, because if he can just hover on that range, stay away from the Rise, Rise isn't going to be able to flash in aggressively if he wants to, as long as Fox is careful about setting up those zones of control.
I do think Thresh is a little bit of a weird choice here as a support pick, if you want to criticize anything. Because right now as a champion, Thresh is only good if you're like an absolute monster on him, and if you manage to like snowball the game by creating picks. I want to see if that happens. Smitty J though, he's in trouble.
Ilia's taking a bit of damage here in this exchange. Subjugate goes down. A lot of pressure onto the top side. Both teams opting to swap the lanes here. Schalke determined to get this tower first, but Giants are already collapsing on the bottom side. Fox goes in. Aggressive use of the ult. Knight taking a lot of damage. Just a quick trade of summoner spells there, or not summoner spells, cooldowns there.
But I think Giants, they managed to reach this tower a little bit earlier, already pushing it down. So yes, they lost Flash on Smitty J. Still getting a tower and can take a dragon right after if they want to, because it's so even in terms of how fast they're killing these towers. Can also just say, you know what, it's an Ocean Drake, we don't value it that high, and instead just go back to our top lane. Make sure you always maximize the farm instead. But I think taking dragon is good, so I like this choice. Ocean Drake in the early game is very powerful as well. So it's a good swap for Giants, because they managed to swap very quickly and then actually reached tower before Schalke did. So even with Smitty J losing flash, which you can then argue, should he have been there in the first place? No, he shouldn't have. But
at the same time, they guarantee the TP coming out of Steve. I mean, it's traded for Smitty J's, but they're trading cooldowns across the map. They're trading towers evenly, and now they're getting the dragons as well. Feels like it's a pretty okay situation for Giants. Really, the only issue for them is some of these farm differentials, mostly in the bot lane right now, between that Jhin and that Ashe. 13 at this stage, and surprisingly, the top lane now evening out after that swap.
Well, for now, keep in mind Steve is sitting with the wave right now, getting to push that out. Actually, will even out, you're right, because he will push down towards Smitty J. So only the 80 carry is where we get a difference. But Giants' composition is about playing the side lanes with Ryze and Trundle, where Schalke is about grouping together with the 4-man group, as we talk about so often. So whichever team is able to actually make the first move on the map, so like if Schalke is able to get Ghostblade completed and first start grouping around mid lane, they can force Giants back and force them to not even split push for like 1 or 2 minutes because they just put pressure on towers.
Things are getting okay. Nice flash out there.
Oh, it's Lantern. That was terrible.
Yeah, Lantern out, flash in from Hustlin. Pretty aggressive move there, but they're just looking to make picks. As you said, want to find that lead to really start this 1-3-1.
But they saw Spruttle in the bot lane. I'm just going back on my screen to check. They actually saw him first. He then stepped into ward, and he then stayed way behind Rallis because he saw the Hecarim coming on the ward, and Hustlin just went all in for it. Clearly not expecting Spruttle to still be there. Losing the flash. But as you said, trying to create a pick.
Yeah, looking to make something happen here at this stage of the game. Of course, Schalke's actually starting to build a decent gold lead on farm. Fox gets aggressive. Skeeves on the backside. Boomerang blade in. Knight, can he trade this back? Doesn't look like it. First blood drops. Maxlore, is he next on the menu? Yep. Double kills. Back-to-back, picked up by Schalke.
Steve, we just talked about how if Schalke gets the group first around the mid lane, they can really create some sick picks here. That was almost too easy, because it was just a Cassiopeia ulti right in the face of Knight, and then Maxlore was out of position, got caught as well. And suddenly 2 kills and a mid tower for Schalke. Massive goal lead at 10 minutes.
And it was just 1K a second ago. It's moving up to almost 3 as they take that the 2 kills on the single tower there. Massive differential already. Game has just opened up for Schalke.
But here, I mean, Knight needs to expect the ulti coming and then has to like step back real quick. He gets stunned, so he goes down. And then Maxlore at the same time. He has ulti right now. Sees the hook flying, doesn't use it. Gets caught and just dies. Like, keep in mind, Hecarim is extremely squishy at this point in the game. He doesn't even have Cinderhole completed yet.
Yeah, just bits and pieces of the build here as well. And one of the big things is that Miasma not letting Ryze flash out.
Love that name, by the way. Sounds like you say my ass every time.
Miasma. Of course, the ability name.
Just keep saying
it. Derail me, please.
Oh, okay. Knight, he wants to derail Rallis. He's going for it.
Buttons. Snare locked down, but it's just going to be a trade of snares here. Knight really taking his time on this one. Not going to... Oh, Lantern! Knight backs off. Doesn't want to chase that kill down. I thought for sure Rallis was down. Oh. Lands instantly. It's just blood across the map. Maxlore looking to make something happen. Good sidestep from Fox. In comes Gilius to back up his mid laner. Maxlore grounded briefly. Giants backing off. They're trying to make something happen, though. They want to get back into this game.
But right now, Schalke is mechanically outplaying Giants in all these small skirmishes. He always manages to either sidestep or have a guy nearby who can quickly join in. Know how to buy enough time. Spruttle twice now. Saved Mr. Rallis with the Lantern. They're in the right place at the right time. And now you have these first items completed. If you are Schalke, Morello's there, Ghostblade is there for Rallis. You can start grouping together with the foreman like we saw before and really create some picks, because Giants, they need this Ryze to have full pressure in his side lane. Ryze really shines in the mid game. He's actually not that insane in the late game anymore, because his damage is so hard to deal, and you need so much time to deal enough damage as a Ryze. Too many things can stop you and force your way, stop your entire rotation. So he's really good in the mid game. Give him Rod of Ages, give him his Xeraths, give him Void Stuff, and he will be a monster. But mainly in the 1v1s, in the side lanes, and then if you can TP flank.
Really looking probably to set up those flanks. They have the Hecarim, the double TPs on their comp, and they're looking to secure this Rift Herald for Smitty J on the top side. Talk about how frustrating that Gnar versus Trundle matchup can be with the range advantage. Rift Herald will help out a decent amount here. And it's really just a question of, will this alleviate a lot of the pressure that is currently in the top lane for Schalke?
I mean, it will make it a bit easier for Smitty J, but the problem for him is he can never really get close to Steve in mini Gnar. So it won't really save him like that. Instead, Schalke is setting up a pick on bottom side. Knight, he's going for another one.
He took the bait. He's going to get locked up. Sure to fall here. Mid laner for Giants not having a good game as Schalke read him like a book.
It's, again, because Schalke have this goal lead, have this advantage on the map, so they can always be proactive. They're always the ones setting up the plays. Knight steps just, honestly, near the river, and it's like, yeah, you're now overextended, we're going to go gank you because you're top laner. It's not really a threat for us because we have Gnar. You're mid lane, well, we don't care about that at the moment. Easy setup for Schalke. Full control in this game. Funny enough, the same thing that happened yesterday for Giants. First game against Vitality, they just fell apart. Lost in 26 minutes.
And this is something that I talked to Maxlor about yesterday.
Wait for it, Steve.
Arrow is going to connect on Rawlez, maybe looking for the fight. Maxlor over the wall, Jin all alone, but the exhaust is going to go down. Sunstar locked up. Steve out of nowhere. Meganar's on the way, folks. He's going to try to make more happen. Giants trade one back. Curtain call. Not going to be a death sentence for anyone. Canceled out, but smack from Steve comes in, locking them down. Knight tries to make the hero play. A beautiful hook will not save the life of Spraddle, but a quick triple for Rawlez in the end.
That was such a close fight, though. Low members everywhere. Spraddle as well with the hero hook just in the end on Knight. Otherwise, I think Rawlez would have gone down as well. Looked very close, but Giants, while they find a good engage on Mr. Rawlez, the follow-up just wasn't there. This Hecarim pick, it just needs more time. You need to be extremely farmed on Hecarim to be impactful. And right now, Maxlor's been taken down twice. He only has, again, a Cinderhole completed, so he's honestly squishy still. And it's really difficult for him to sit in that back line and buy enough time.
At this stage of the game, there's nearly a 2k gold difference between the jungles. 2-1 and 2 the score for Gilius, in addition to that massive CS differential. So things just are really rough. And as we look at this fight one more time, you can see where it goes wrong for Giants.
Yeah, so arrow straight on Rawlez. He's obviously behind both Gilius and Spraddle, so Maxlor dives in, but then it's now him against 3 members. And he's not tanky enough to buy enough time here, so he goes down. And while Spraddle and Rawlez are low, Spinny J gets flayed back, and then a great stun from Steve, kind of saving the day. And look at the hook here from Spraddle. A little bit lucky, time straight into the flash, but another small victory for Schalke in the fight, granting a bigger victory. Heading gold.
Almost 6k ahead now as they start to dive into this mid lane. They've put Knight so far down already, and they're just looking to keep that train rolling. Skill shots flying under that tower.
Giants will get a top tower, but that's about it right now. We see Schalke always try and group around mid lane. They keep pushing the bottom lane with Spraddle and Rawlez, and then they move to mid. They move in to always join the Cassiopeia and start setting up the zone control with the W, create some picks. Giants with a good little rotation with just no minions at this point, and Rawlez is looking to push out one more wave, and then he can either join the team in mid lane, or if Schalke can push out mid, they can actually join him on the bottom side. But you always need 2 lanes next to each other to push at the same time, otherwise you can't.
And look at this Deficio. They have to send Trundle down to respond, and Rawlez is completely aware because Schalke owned that side of the Giants jungle. Vision everywhere. Gilius running down to that bottom lane, ready to support. Schalke definitely taking control of the map.
Sadly for them, no dragon to take at the moment, so you gotta start sieging on tier 2 towers very early in the game. No TPs for Giants, so no real threat of being flanked if you are Schalke. And as you just said, you know, keep that vision in the jungle. You can see the Hecarim coming. And you can also often spot the arrow if it flies from one lane to another, because you see it on the wards. Maxlor, having a great game.
Just gonna have to try to run this one out. Knight ready for the turnaround if necessary, but just taking so much damage overall. Schalke set up for a siege in the mid lane.
And you see this again, the W from Cassiopeia.
Oh, that's going to be a quick pick.
Okay. I could have even play-by-play that one.
I mean, he died.
He died.
That was about all.
He did.
Ideally, that was pretty much the only amount of time I had to say anything in that exchange. Very quick pick for Schalke. Now they have control in the jungle, they have control of the minion waves, and they're looking to break this tier 2 tower. Fox on the side, ready to go in if necessary. Giants, I don't know if they can do anything here.
No, I had to give up the tower. And there are 2 things I really like, Sifa. Well, there's a lot of things I like, but there are 2 things in this game I really like. When you pick Gnar into Trundle, I think it's always great because at best you go even in farm, and then you go into team fights in the mid game, and you're very strong on the Gnar. And I like to see Rawlez play Jhin. Because I think whenever Schalke is playing Jhin, they understand how to build comps around it, and they understand how to move the Jhin around, and he's very, very good at landing these long-range skill shots. Like, Rallis is Mr. Consistent. He's always been. He's never been the massive carry who goes 20-0 every game, but he always had a solid game. And when you play Jhin, and you have the ability to just set up these picks with your team, because you're good with skill shots, well, you suddenly sit as 3-0-3, 18 minutes into the game, and your team has a massive goal lead.
And this is one of the interesting things is I really like, as you said, this sets up for Rallis to be Mr. Consistent, but it also helps Gilius be consistent, which has been that huge point that we talked about at the start of the game, because Nidalee, much easier for her to get those kills when she has the snare follow-up across the map. We've seen Gilius be a massive threat in a lot of those bot lane exchanges, and really just feels like a much better team effort coming in from Schalke this time around.
And exactly as we talked about before the game, we have a situation here where Gilius has not tried to be a hero on his own. He's been following Schalke around. He's been joining with Rallis and Spraddle multiple times to create picks. And he's been getting his kills in team fights, or that one gank in the bottom lane. He's not been like invading and solo killing Maxlaw. He actually played it very safe. He was like running around River, just warding in the entrance, and then he just backed away. So he played, right now, a game where you would say it's not because of Gilius they're winning, but he's always helping. He's always there. He's assisting his team. He's making sure Rallis can always farm, and Spraddle got a call.
Chain CC comes in. Spraddle's gonna drop. Giants picking up their first kill, but the fight's not over. Steve into the back line. Meganar on the way. Smacks Smitty J into the wall. Fox burns down one member. The 2v1 for the mid laner, and Schalke just ripping through Smitty J on the back half. Rallis, so much damage. Sawstar, what are you doing? Burns down. Is that another ace coming in for Schalke, and a triple for Fox?
I mean, this fight looked so good for Giants at first. Managed to create a quick pick on Spraddle, and Knight even got a great flank. And then Schalke turns it around completely. Gilius even managed to win the 1v1 duel like at the red buff after, this is a 20-minute Baron. I think this is the earliest Baron we have seen in the EU LCS this split. It literally just spawned. 11 seconds, the Baron was alive.
11 seconds. Schalke absolutely in control, and Giants' best efforts to start the fight there did not work out for them at all. And when we get to look at that in a second, I think the biggest issue is what do Giants do to come back now? We'll check that team fight.
Oh, there's definitely big issues, that's for sure. So, pick straight onto Spraddle, Gilius being a proper teammate here, jumping to the side. And now look at the flank from Knight. This is actually great. This is what you want to do on this Rise. He gets to stand here with two squishy members in the back, but so does Fox down the bottom lane here, on the bottom side of your screen. And in the end, he can just play 1v3 and win it, and sometimes flash straight into the wall.
One of the issues, Smitty J.
Yep, I agree on that one.
Fix the hair.
I agree.
Interesting reaction. Got it.
Yeah. Well, we lost the fight, but my hair looks pretty good.
The thing I wanted to point out is that you just saw Ashe completely zoned out of the fight after the arrow from a single miasma coming from Fox. Just
miasma? Had to do it.
All right. From a single W, how about that?
I like it.
Unless you have some interesting keybinds there, Deficio. Just zones out that member of the fight, and then it's a support trying to duel the mid laner, and it just does not work out.
Yeah, you want to know, Sifa, the biggest disadvantage about it being a pro player, for current pro players and former pro players, you actually don't learn the spell names. Because everyone just goes like QWER. That's everything. Whenever the players are here talking, they're like, yeah, this ability, you know, Q is really strong, and like they never know the name.
Are you under the illusion that anyone who plays this game actively goes, guys, I have Enchanted Crystal Arrow available for the next fight?
No, but I know quite a few play-by-play casters.
Yeah, but that's like a thing we learn. Like, I didn't go,
I should learn all the names, but I like QWER.
Some of the names are awesome. That's the thing I like about learning the name, but sometimes you just got to say QWER. As the R lands here, Hustlin goes in, Spraddle once again, the sacrificial lamb, flashing to safety, CC coming in from Fox, Maxwell doing his best to zone. Once again, though, a support drops. Gilius suddenly in the back line, Steve running forward, no Meganar available, but he does so much damage. Pop!
Oh,
my God, double kill coming in for Rallis. Snare to back it up. He's the man of the hour, and Giants set to fall once again. Sonstar not even going to get the return kill. Schalke controlling the pace as they look to break the inhibitor line.
Such a good game, Sifa, from Schalke every single time. Multiple members showing up here, the Cassiopeia pick, great ultis, even from the early game. 22 minutes in, they're pushing for Nexus turrets.
maybe to end this game. Hustling doing what he can to defend. Steve jumps forward aggressively. 22 minutes in. Rawlez burning through the towers.
I think they gotta run.
Sansar takes so much damage from that spear, but Schalke backing off. Have to be happy though. Get the fight, get the dive. We can watch it one more time. Giants still trying to make things happen.
And this, you know, it all looks a bit fancy. You hide behind the wall, you fire an arrow, but the problem is you're running 5 members straight at a Cassiopeia now. And your comp needs to flank to win these. But again, obviously we are in a situation where Giants are really far behind, so these fights will never go exactly the way they want them to go, and Rawlez with some great snipes in the end, and rest of Schalke diving in, getting the kills. And that's the thing for Giants, right? They would have loved to play split push in this game. They would have absolutely loved to put Ryze in that side lane, but they tried. They were already behind when they did it, and he got ganked and died. So they basically said, you know what, boys, we can only fight our way back. We have to just pick some crazy team fights, try and outplay Schalke. If we fail, well, we would have lost anyway. Once you fell behind and you messed up in the early game, Giants in this composition, like when you play Ryze, he is so bad when he's behind. You just have to try almost, and that's what they've been doing, and that's why it looks even worse. And Rawlez now eats the arrow.
No follow-up going to come in here from Giants. Not in range for that one. SmittyJ locked down, potentially in trouble. Curtain call hits one, hustling. Body blocks for the team, but Knight's on the side. He's dueling the mid laner. Fox looking for the 1v1. Oh my god, the Cassio damage is insane. Steve, he's going to miss the ult. SmittyJ flashes to safety. Exhaust drops. Cleanse in from Fox. Smitty going to fall. Fox playing cleanup. Rawlez suddenly available. Saves the crit for style points as Thresh is going to pick up that one, and hustling. Tail between his legs, just has to run back to base. Shortest game this season was 25 minutes. Fnatic Unicorns of Love.
Well, they got to hurry then.
Schalke maybe looking to set some records here.
Was it 25 minutes exactly?
Oh, I don't know that specifically.
Because that's the big one here. 25:05. All right, 10 seconds. They're going to do it.
They can do it.
They got time.
Let's see. Schalke on the way to close out this game. Fox taking a bit of damage here, but at the end of the day, the game will end, and the fastest game of the 2016 summer season now belongs to Schalke with that commanding win.
Quick day at the office, Sifa, it seems, if Schalke can do this.
We saw an 80-minute game yesterday. No one's having it today.
No. Schalke is making up for what happened yesterday between Fnatic and Origin. Game 1, though, and again, I just want to say this happened yesterday in Giants versus Vitality. The first game was 26 minutes. It was even for like 5 minutes. Mistake. Vitality completely snowballed out of control. Yeah. Giants fell apart. They came back in the second game, and both Pulse and I, who were casting the game, were kind of like, ooh, they got stumped. Like, Vitality should be able to win that next game and show they're a better team. But then Giants came back, changed up the pick and ban phase, and played much, much better. So I don't want to count them out. But Schalke had a great game here and were way better than Giants.
And I don't think we can count them out at all. What I want to see is more adaptation, as you said, coming in pick bans. And we saw them hover the Lissandra for Knight, and that has been an insanely good pick for Giants in the past. And while it may not have the most comfortable laning phase, while it may give up a little bit of pressure against that Cassio, who's just so terrifying, I still feel like it is the right pick for this team in that scenario because Ryze hasn't worked out, Karma hasn't worked out, and with this year off the table, I feel like you need something that you know is going to be successful.
But I think if you pick Lissandra in this game, compared to what Ryze wants to do, it's actually a lot of the same. You want to sit in that side lane in the mid game and push up and then have that TP. Either you TP flank yourself or people play around your lane and move to your lane and you dive, whoever is standing there defending. That would have been exactly the same with the Lissandra. You just have better engage, obviously, against the poke comp. So that would have been something. But Giants made the mistake in the mid game, also in the mid lane, where they gave up the 2 kills with the first spot at 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And we talked so much about how Schalke, if they manage to group first before Schalke sets up the split push.
I feel like you said it a minute before it had. Like you said it, and then a minute later they dived the mid lane and the game just spiraled out of control.
Exactly. Because then you get the picks, you take the first tower. We see the play here, by the way. I think Knight is playing a little bit too greedy here. You got to always be ready for that Cassiopeia ulti, otherwise don't take the trade. And then the problem is Maxlore kind of continues in and doesn't really respect the catch potential. And now that's 2 kills and a mid tower, suddenly meaning that you can't set up your side lanes anymore.
Yeah, and the second you're behind like that, you talked about it, the 1-3-1 comp really struggles. Ryze really
always struggle from behind, always.
And then from here, now that Schalke control the pace of the game, it feels like they get to fight fights on their own terms time and time again. We saw multiple aces over the course of this game, but this first one coming in for Mr. Rawlez was insane. Managing to pull out that triple kill. So we're going to watch it here. You saw the team on your screen. Feeling pretty happy after that game one. You're going to see why on your screen. Rawlez, Exhaust comes in, and he's just able to rip through.
Yeah, obviously Exhaust and then Maxlaw is in the back line. Everyone else is trying to fight against the rest of Schalke in the front, and Steve gets his Mega Nod at perfect timing. Some small details here, you know, very close to more members going down, but then you get a hook like this one from Spraddle where it's actually at the current location, and then Knight flashes and still gets...
Every time.
Aha, of course, yeah, he's like,
Mad
he's going to flash right here, and then I'm just going to time the hook, even though it's actually flying like this. The animation of hook is a little bit weird.
Yeah, if you flash point blank in front of Thresh, that...
It will catch you. It will catch you.
Yeah, it's going to get you.
Let's just say he mad lifed it, and he got
Give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, they had such a good game, right?
Spraddle lifed it.
Spraddle life. What is the Spraddle life?
When you time the flashes and stuff. Now it is.
Hashtag ask a Spraddle.
Now it is. But man, Schalke, I mean, I got to go back to Agilius' point because we were so brilliant. We came up with that point before. When he doesn't have to solo carry, the team does really well. He didn't have to solo carry.
Yeah. Of course, while we've been talking over here on EULCS 1, action has been happening on EULCS 2. Roccat and Fnatic are locked in an incredibly tight battle. Let's take a look in on that action really quickly.
Yellow Star's still here, but Gamsu is there as well, able to pull them back away from this. So for Fnatic, it's still been fairly rough around the edges, but they're coming out ahead further now the longer this game goes on. They're being able to turn some of these fights. So initially, Reckless, about half health, just above. This catch onto Raze, easy pick off here, nothing really to worry about, but Reckless was on his own. Airwax gets into the fight, forces him back into the rest of the team, and from there, Roccat kind of have this position where depending on their target selection, they may actually be able to take a strong fight here. They were ignoring Forbidden for a while, but then Parang comes around because they know Gamsu can't cut in. Great Emperor's Divide here separates Airwax and Parang from any further damage onto Febiven, and he can then turn around for extra damage. You can see there was Gamsu zoning Steel back out, and from here, this was the final kills of the fight that come through. Fnatic play the bait game. They were able to prevent Roccat from getting in to the Baron pit. Taking a look at the live screen here, we have got the teams fairly close to each other. As you can see, Fnatic were looking to go around the Baron area. Roccat want to call their bluff and go straight up the mid lane for now.
They're certainly going to try to finish the tower that they started. Weren't able to get it on that fight. It seemed oh so long ago, but they will finally finish the job. Parang getting the gold credit, but he may not get out alive, having to flash away because in comes Gamsu, hopping, skipping, jumping, and it will result in nothing but the arrow hits Raze. They can't capitalize on this, but they will try to get inspired and get even more damage out. Chains land, waves out, all the engage is there, but it's not enough damage, or not enough to stop Raze from being taken down, in Spirit still hunting. Has to repel back onto a minion. They pick up one and they dodge the Jhin ulti.
And they're going to call the bluff now. They're going to head up to Baron. They know it's Raze that is dead, but at the same time, Roccat have lost a lot of their disengage tools. Only really the Gragas ultimate. Still, look at how fast this dies. 2 Mountain Drakes are going to shred through it. That's already gone.
And they can start the fight. Airwax, he's caught up against the wall. They just beat him down, forcing the flash over. Parang trying his hardest, but he can't get enough damage. Spirit now looking for the chase down. Not enough.
Not enough for now, but Fnatic, they'll be happy they got themselves the Baron and they can now look to push in on the Roccat base. I mean, man, if there's one team that is pretty good here in Europe at reading exactly how quickly they can do a Baron, it's Fnatic, and they show us all once again. Turn to the Baron and they go, hey, we got 2 Mountain Dragons and Elise and an Azir that are very, very fed right now. I wonder how quickly this is going to die. Turns out, dies in like under 10 seconds.
It doesn't hurt when they're able to pump Ash Arrows into it as well. So Roccat have to take the Constellation Dragon, unfortunately. So at least we'll have the regen when they inevitably get chunked down again.
Really close. I mean, much closer game than we initially thought. Of course, Fnatic do look like they're taking control now.
It's the EULCS, dude. Every single team can take a game off every single team.
Which is the best and worst place to be. As a play-by-play caster, always exciting. I feel like as a color caster, you're like, how do I know?
Sometimes you just want to have like a few top teams where you know they're really good and everyone else can try and copy them. But if every team is so close, you know, it's hard to know who's actually doing everything correct and maybe who's doing things wrong.
Yeah.
There's still a high chance Fnatic and G2 and H2K will win the games.
Yeah.
I think, but it's always, you know, in a situation where it can be 1-1 very easily.
Absolutely, and I think it's a very interesting place for it to be. Of course, guys, if you want to catch the rest of that game, you can head on over to EULCS 2. But here on EULCS 1, it's time for us to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
You know, when I was like Platilo, I would like Google orb walking and watch tutorials how to kite, you know, orb walking. I was like, people that can kite are so insane. I want to do this too.
Fox gets aggressive. Steve's on the backside. Boomerang blade in. Knight, can he trade this back? Doesn't look like it. First blood drops. Maxlore, is he next on the menu? Double kills. My God, double kill coming in for Rales. Snare to back it up. He's the man of the hour, and Giants set to fall once again. Sonstar not even going to get the return kill. Oh my God, the Casio damage is insane. Steve, he's going to miss the ult. Smitty J flashes to safety. Exhaust drops. Cleanse in from Fox. Smitty going to fall. Fox playing cleanup. Rales suddenly available. Saves the crit for style points. The fastest game of the 2016 summer season now belongs to Schalke with that commanding win.